This is Nick Lamagna again with a longer answer to the question I received on how to evaluate new markets. So initially my question back was what strategies you're looking for, because evaluating markets for your exit strategies could make you evaluate markets different. Some markets are great for rentals, some markets are not. Some markets are great for retail flips, some markets are not. So I would look at what you're doing. So first off, let's say you're looking at fixing a property, just a conventional fix and flip that everybody's doing that you see on HDTV. One of the things I like to look at to evaluate markets there is to try and keep it very basic initially. So I don't want to overanalyze every single market in the country and then not start doing anything. I want to start moving forward and making steps. So I like to look for major cities and look for some of the suburb or the tertiary markets around those, because they tend to have a pretty stable economy based on that major market, like a San Francisco, an Atlanta, a Denver, a Seattle, a New York. And generally within an hour, 2 hours outside of that major city, you could find some suburbs or some secondary markets that are pretty strong with less competition, and your dollar can go a lot further. So I do like to find very competitive markets and look on some of those outskirts within maybe an hour or so around that maybe are close enough that people can commute back and forth to work, but they're not paying the same quality of living or the cost of living over there. That's one thing. So what I'll do is I'll find those markets and I'll literally just start reaching out to realtors and wholesalers and putting out the feelers everywhere that I'm looking for deals in this market to fix and flip. And then what will happen is, as I start to get people sending me back listings, deals, and comparables, I will look at two things. I'll look at the days on market and I'll look at the day of the last sale. That's going to be a pretty good indicator for me to evaluate, is this a good market to flip? Because if I'm not seeing low days on market of, let's say, fix-up houses selling in less than 60 days, that's going to tell me that maybe the product I'm trying to do isn't really moving in that area. And I like to look for things that I can back up with data, otherwise it's just an opinion. So you might find a market that you'll have somebody send you a deal and they'll say, hey, this is a great deal in a great market. And then I'll look at those stats and I'll say, hey, look, I don't see any days on market. There's not a lot of recent sales or recent activity here. And they'll say, well, that's because this market is amazing and nobody moves here, but when you buy that house, it's going to fly off the shelves. If I don't have that data from the comparables that came from whoever sent me that property or realtors from the MLS telling me houses like this will sell in 45 to 60 days at this price, it's a gamble to me. So they could be right, but they could be wrong. I like to be able to stay sure as day, this house is going to look exactly like my house is 30, 60, 90 days from now. According to these facts, I can tell that houses that look just like this, they're in demand because there's recent sales. So my days on market and my recent sales are key for me to tell me, do I want to be in that market? I keep it as basic as that initially. So are they sending me properties? Is there activity? So recent sales in the last 30, 60, 90 days. If there's not, that could be a market that's declining, a market that's slowing down. I don't want to pick up a property to resell and 30, 60, 90 days later, now maybe there's no activity for 9 months and I'm sitting on that property, I have to drop the price, so that could be risky to me. If I see very recent activity for houses similar size, similar shape, similar price point, I know there's a demand for what I'm selling and there's recent activity showing me that there's still some life, there's still some opportunity in that market. So I have to see that what I'm selling is selling in the last 30 to 60, 90 days, and I have to see that the ones that sold in under that 30 to 60 days. That's going to be my first indicator to tell me, do I want to start investing and putting time into these markets? So a lot of the times I'll pick maybe 3 to 5 markets, start reaching out to a bunch of contacts in those tertiary markets, and I'm going to learn pretty quick, okay, maybe this area, as I'm looking at that data, there's no recent sales, or there's no sales on fixed up houses that have been selling in under 60 days. I'll open up the conversations of, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, Mr. and Mrs. Wholesaler, Mr. and Mrs. Broker, or whoever contact me on Facebook. This specific deal doesn't really work because in this area, I'm not seeing that the houses fixed up like mine will be are selling in 30, 60 days, or nothing like that has sold in the last 2, 3 months. Where in your area do you see that there's houses like this moving? Where are houses selling faster? Where is there more activity? And open up those conversations have always found me those markets. So I cast a wide net. From that wide net, I'll start to open up conversations for where is the high activity, where is the low days on market, and as long as you have a few conversations and you're patient, that data that comes in from the comps will tell you exactly what pockets of those neighborhoods are looking for what you want. So that's for a flip. I'll leave it as just flips for now, and then I'll do another video on how I evaluate for rentals. But days on market, days of last sale, be flexible, tertiary markets should help you start to find out where you want to go.